Hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today for day 3 of my Retired Products Card Challenge. And today's stamp set is going to be Pampered Pets. This stamp set is not actually retired quite yet, but it will be when the new catalog comes out. So if this is a stamp set and it comes with dies as well, coordinating dies. If this is something that you've been wanting, it is still available, but there's no guarantee because retiring products are only available while supplies last. So, like I said, it's not quite retired, but it will be very shortly. So let me show you the cards that I'm going to be featuring today. I'll move these over and do them one at a time. This is a shelf card. So if you've watched my other videos, you'll notice that not only am I featuring retired or retiring products, but the cards I'm making, I'm also showing you a few fun folds as well. So the card style is called a shelf card, as you can see. And I also still had some of the designer series paper from that Pampered Pets bundle from, I think it was first offered 2 years ago, and I got the paper and I still had pieces of it. So that's what I'm using in this for this card. But if you don't have that paper, then use some designer series paper that might go with it. Or if you don't have it, you just put another color cardstock on it. That would be fine as well. And I stamped it with with one of the cat images from the stamp set. This little kitty right here that has a very surprised look on its face. And then on the top right here, there's in the dies have a die with little paw prints. So I used that die to die cut some paw prints at the top. And I did not use the sentiments in the stamp set. I downloaded something from the internet that I thought was hilarious. And it says, cats have the exact same look on their face, whether they see a moth or an axe murderer. I thought that was kind of funny. So I'm not going to show you how to make the entire card from start to finish, but I will show you how to put together the shelf card. So in this particular case, what I used was Flirty Flamingo. And I'll just put the card down here for a second while I'm doing this. So I have the directions here so I remember what the dimensions are, and I can include those in the directions. So what you'll need is a piece of Flirty Flamingo or whatever color you want for your card base. And you're going to cut it at 10 and a half by 4 and a quarter. So you'll do the 10 and a half by 4 and a quarter. And then you're going to score it at 1/2, then 1 3/4, 3 3/4, and at the 5-inch mark. And then you'll fold that, just fold it at all of the score lines. And when you fold it up, you'll see this little tab. This little tab right here is the part that will get glued to the back of the card, right? So you'll fold it so that it looks like an open box. All right, and that's what it's going to look like, but we're not going to glue that down quite yet. You're going to then need a black layer. Well, that's what I used anyway, so if you're going to replicate what I'm doing. So I used black cardstock, and I cut it at 4 inches by 3 7/8. And then that's going to go, let me make sure I'm doing it, yeah. So 4 and 3 7/8 is going to go there. And then the designer series paper, which in this case I used little fishes and hearts, This one I used the cat dish bowl, but I ran out of this paper, so I'm just using this one. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere it down to the black cardstock. And then once you do that, once you have your DSP on to your black cardstock, then you're going to adhere it to the card base. Okay. All right. So this is the reason I told you not to adhere the bottom part up yet, because when you put this layer down and then you roll up this piece that's going to be glued to the back, some of that black cardstock and the designer series paper will be behind it, and that just gives it a nice look. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of glue just on this one top tab. Okay. And then we'll roll it around and glue it to the back of the card base. And you can even use your bone folder to kind of go underneath and make sure that it's nice and adhered. And you have the base of it. And then what you'll do for the front is, this front piece is that I've also cut a piece of black cardstock at 4 inches by 1 7/8. And then I've cut another piece of designer series paper at 3 7/8 by 1 3/4, so just a little bit smaller. Oops. And you'll tack those together. You'll have just the tiniest of a border around of black cardstock around it. And then we'll put more adhesive on the back. And you'll tack it down to this front section. Sorry if my camera is freezing. I'm not sure why it's doing that. It's probably maybe some bandwidth on from the internet on through my router. So now you have this front piece done, and now we'll make the shelf piece. And the front panel shelf piece is going to be another piece of Flirty Flamingo cut at 5 3/4 by 2 3/4, and then you're going to score it at 4 1/4 and 5 1/4. And then what will happen is, again, we'll have a little tab at the top that's going to be the part that we will glue against the card. And this is how it's going to go. So you'll have the scored pieces at the top, and you'll line it up at the bottom. All right, I'm not going to tack it down, but I'll line it up. And then you will fold it so that this piece will glue to the back. And then you will have your shelf. Before I do that, I want to add the other layers to the front. So again, you'll need another black layer measuring 4 1/8 this way and 2 5/8. And again, like I said, I will include the measurements. Okay. Now, this is where you can do your stamping. And I'll just go ahead and stamp the little kitty. I just stamped it with some black ink. And what I did for the coloring was I just used some smoky slate, the light smoky slate, and just colored in the kitty using that. I'm not a fancy colorer, so I just kind of colored it in quickly. Now, before I go any further, I did the kitty's ears in petal pink. So I'm just, before I color it in with smoky slate, I just want to do the kitty's ears. Okay. Now you can certainly add more color, like with the dark smoky slate blend, and then you can, you know, do more dimension on it. Now the other thing I did was to take some crumb cake, and I just gave it a you know, something underneath it, as you can see on this one, so that it didn't look like it was a floating cat. And just, you know, just swoosh it. I'm not doing anything fancy, as you can see, just a swoosh. And that's it. At least it anchors the cat in the image so that it doesn't look like it's just floating around. And then, you know, I did the die cutting here, which I'm not going to do for this video, but you get the drift of where I'm going. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this piece without the image on it, only because I am going to go back and die cut it later. So I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to just put some glue down the middle of here, down the center. And I'm going to also put a little on the tab. So I'm going to start here. And then we can curl this down and adhere it to the back of the card base rather. Okay, and you have the shelf, and then you can, you know, when you have your image done, you will merely, adhere it to the front. And I didn't put any ribbon or embellishments or anything like that. I think the little die cuts at the top are kind of neat. And then what I also did was, when I printed this sentiment out on just a piece of copy paper, I mounted it on some Flirty Flamingo and then attached it. So that's how you make a shelf card. Kind of neat. I hope you enjoyed that one. I'll put those aside. Okay, and then here's my next one. And I'll show you the other two as well. These are both super cute. And both of them I did my own sentiment on them. So they're both a little bit different. So this one is also, this is very simple, fun fold, really, for beginners. It's like a super easy one. So I'll show you, I don't necessarily need to show you how to make it, but I'm going to tell you how I did it, and you're gonna understand just how easy it is. All right, so in this case, I used real red, but basically you use whatever color you want. So for your card base, you would use, you would cut a piece of, cardstock, and I didn't have any more real red, so I'm going to use, for an example, I'm going to use just this gorgeous grape that I happen to have left over from yesterday's project. So you'll cut it at 5.5 by 8.5, and you will score it at 4 1/4 as you usually would, but then you're also going to score it at 2 1/8. So you'll fold it at the middle point, which is what you would normally do. And even if you don't want to score it, or let's say you don't have a paper trimmer with a scoring blade or whatever, just take your cardstock, fold it in half, and then fold the top piece over in half as well. That's all you're going to do. Fold it back on itself. And you have the basis of your card. So then I took a piece of, or a couple of pieces of the designer series paper from this, let's see, what's the name of it called? Well, anyway, it's from I have the name of it probably stuck in there somewhere. And there's all kinds of different papers that you can choose from, right? And the one that I chose, let's see, do I have it? Oh yeah. It says, wag, play, love, bark, woof, dig, chase, scratch. Love that. So that's what I used for the card base. And the inside piece is cut at 5 1/4 by 4, as you would any card layer. And then for this panel, I cut it at 5 1/4 by 2 inches, because this is the card base is 2 1/8, and I made this at 2 inches. So 2 by 5 1/4, and then the inside, of course. And you can basically pick whatever designer series paper you might want. Then I also took, they had additional on the other side of that black paper. They have, dog bowls, dog bones, paw prints. So I took that side and I die cut it with, let's see, the ornate layer dies. These are retiring. So I took the second largest, I believe that, yes. Yep, the second largest die, and die cut out from this paper. And that's what I got. So I would have a border all around it. And then I took the stitched rectangles dies and cut out a rectangle out of white cardstock to fit in the center. So it has a nice stitched look to it. And then I adhered it to the front left panel. So when you open it, you see the back of the paper, which matches the inside. Now, if you wanted, you can also decorate this panel. I didn't do that, but yeah, you could put some coordinating paper right on that panel. So then I just put a piece of white cardstock in the inside. Now you have to measure it because you don't want it showing on the top or the bottom or sticking out. So you have to just kind of measure it so that you have some place to write your sentiment. And this particular one that I downloaded from the internet says, "There are no bad days when you come home to a dog." And then the sentiment on the inside says, "Love is a wet nose and a wagging tail." And then the stamp set has the little hearts that you see. So there's the little hearts. So I chose to use those, just stamping it at the bottom. And that's the simple fun fold number 2. I hope you like that one. Now for the last one, this one. It's not a fun fold, but it does have several layers to it. The sentiment says, "Pet hair. It's a fashion accessory and a condiment." So any of you that have pets, you know that pet hair ends up everywhere, even in your food. It's on your clothes, you know that, and it's in your food. So I started with a black cardstock card base, cut at 5.5 by 8.5, and scored at 4 1/4, typical, and we're decorating it landscape style. And I took a piece of 2 pieces of the designer series paper from the paper pack and cut each one at 5 1/4 across and 2 inches each. So 5 1/4 by 2 each piece, and it has obviously a little separation between it. Now, if I didn't have anything covering the middle, I might put a strip of cardstock across the front or a ribbon, and I thought about that, but the whole middle section is mostly covered, so it didn't matter. So then I took they have a piece of it, they have let's see, this one is with the kitties on it, but the reverse side is pet hair. So how nice, it goes right along with the sentiment. And I die cut it using the stitched rectangles. I used one, and then I put a smaller one in the center and die cut the middle. And then I took a piece of black cardstock and mounted it on the back. And then I took the sentiment and I just adhered it to a piece of, just a scrap piece of real red cardstock that I happen to have, and attach it to the top. And I cut out let me see, do I have him? Oh yeah. So I've been using you just cut the images out of the designer series paper, so what you end up with is not having to do any stamping at all. So of the 3 cards I'm showing you, the only one that I did any stamping was the shelf card with the little kitty. The other 2, I didn't do any stamping. All I did was cut the images from the designer series paper, and that's what I did with this one. So there he is. And some of you people that have a big dog, you love your big dogs. And so then on the inside, I put, "No outfit is complete without pet hair." Ain't that the truth? So that is today's video. Kind of simple, straightforward. I'll bring them back. Here they are, the 3 of them. I hope you liked today's cards, and I appreciate you watching, and I hope that you will tune in tomorrow when I'll have 3 more cards, and I have not yet determined which stamp set I'm going to use. But I hope that you tune in tomorrow for my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and bye for now.